everyone, and welcome to our resumption of the Wednesday webinars. We have today the Governor's Office of Early Childhood to kick things off. Without further ado, I'm recording this intro. We were a little bit late with the record at the Wednesday webinar, but let me just introduce you and we'll turn things right over to our speakers. So without further ado, we are joined today by Amy Neal, the Executive Director of the Governor's Office of Early Childhood Education, along with Project Specialist Megan Greenwell. Melissa Goins, our own FRYSC Director, is going to be joining us, and also one of our own FRYSC coordinators, Tracy Pulley, is going to kind of talk about some of the practical implementations. So let's advance here. What we're hoping that you get out of today's webinar is really an understanding of the early childhood regional collaboratives that operate within the Governor's Office of Early Childhood. It's kind of a reformulation, so we're going to kind of talk about how they're organized and how you can utilize those services. We're hoping that as you walk away today, you'll better understand the priorities of these regional collaboratives, learn about some, we're going to focus on some best practices, which are the Kentucky bright spots, and discuss opportunities where you can take some of this content, this material, these resources, and integrate them with your program, especially now for those of you that are FRCs, as you're thinking about writing your new CPPs, that you can integrate some of this material, some of these ideas, some of these resources. And like I said, we're going to have Tracy Pulley, an actual FRYSC, talk about some practical ways that she has worked with the Governor's Office of Early Childhood, past and present, to really give you some great ideas of some practical ways to put some of this into practice. So thank you so much for joining us. We're glad you're here. If you're watching this portion, you're watching the archive, and you can still get a full 1 hour of PD credit by watching this recording and by completing a self-evaluation at the end. So please take advantage of that and add this hour to your PD tracking form. All right, let's continue on with the presentation and we'll get you right into the recording. This was the slide right before we started recording. So these are actually the goals of the Governor's Office of Early Childhood. It exists to promote greater collaboration between various partner agencies, to really put a focus on quality and continuous improvement in very much the same way that we have focused on using standards of quality in the FRYSC world through the National Family Strengthening Network standards that we're actually going to be rolling out right now. And of course, the bottom line goal is to make sure that more children enter kindergarten prepared. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn things over to Executive Director Amy Neal to talk a little bit about what the Office of Governor's Early Childhood Office is all about, a little bit about their history and who they are. So without further ado, let's turn things over to Amy. And again, thank you so much for tuning in.
If you've ever wondered, like, what is it that they do? And so just, you know, as we have come along, you know, we've been the first really in the country to establish early childhood standards, to develop an office of early childhood, to define what it means to be ready for kindergarten, to establish a screener so that upon kindergarten entry, you know, we know how many kids are ready for kindergarten, and then we can work together to then do something about it. In 2019, our office received a preschool development grant, and it was very significant because from that, our office developed a 5-year strategic plan. And we use that plan as our roadmap. And we, you know, what I wanted to share with you all is that we did not get the second part of the grant. And so we were not able to sort of like move forward in full force as the grant was written. However, we were able to take all the great work that was done and sort of choose two big priorities that we really believe are moving the needle forward. Number one is unification and accountability of the early childhood system. And then the second one is strengthening and cultivating state and local partnerships. And that second one is really, I think, speaks to, like why we're having these types of conversations with family resource and youth service centers. Now, I think another piece that I want to just tie in here, and Megan will talk a little bit about it, and Tracy may mention it too, is that we did a lot of sort of unpacking and studying and analyzing through this preschool development grant because it allowed us to. And one of the things that it allowed us to do was take a look at what has happened over the 20 years in Kentucky with early childhood. And we were able to analyze our community early childhood councils. And we thank so many of you all who have been engaged in our community early childhood councils over the years. And we found some really great things that have happened. And for those of you all who are familiar with those are networks who work together to increase kindergarten readiness across the state of Kentucky. We invest annually through tobacco settlement dollars. But the finding also said that to increase impact, we need to pivot from one-day activities to long-term behavior change. And so the Early Childhood Advisory Council voted to merge those individual community early childhood councils to regional collaboratives. And so you'll notice that we've really changed the way that we talk about those to now regional collaboratives. So when we talk about pivoting from one-day activities to long-term behavior change, why do we need to do that? Let's flip on over to the next slide, Greg. And, why is it so critical that we're all focusing on early childhood? And here it is. You all know this. We know this, is that, kindergarten readiness and third grade reading, highly related. You all know that we've been stuck at 50% of kids ready for kindergarten for the past 5 years. That is not even including the pandemic data at all. In December, I hopped on the KDE board meeting and caught a presentation. And I want to read you what I heard. I don't know if anybody else was on that board meeting, but third grade data, a total of 47.3% of Kentucky third grade students did not meet proficiency on the 2019 K-Prep reading assessment. And as you all know, unrepresented populations are impacted the most. Sadly, total population below proficiency, Black, 70.3%. Economically disadvantaged, 56.6, Hispanic, 60.7, English language learners, 70.2. We know where all of this starts is in early learning and transitioning, families and training. So next slide. So I'm just going to buzz through this because I'm probably over my time. Melissa, I can only see you. Am I over my time? I'm probably over my time. And so what I just wanted to share with you on this is that our office is, as Melissa said so nicely in the beginning, thank you for that, we are working together differently than we ever have before to get different results. And I just wanted to highlight, and we are happy, more than happy, to have conversations with you all, to share these slides, to do some thinking with you all. If any light bulbs go off, because we want to increase impact, and that's all we want to do. And we want to do it in the smartest way possible. And so I just wanted to roll through a couple of these pieces. And so in case it flags something for you, in case later on you want to say, hey, Melissa, what was that? Hey, Melissa, let's have a conversation with them. And let's talk about that. In case you say like, I want to put that in my grant, or I want to think through that for my grant. Because the best way that we can make a lasting, sustainable impact is when we braid and blend those funds together, really both human and financial resources, right? So under promoting greater collaboration, for the very first time, we've identified those early childhood best practices that are working. Megan's going to go through those with you so that we can pivot, right? So that we can scale a strategy over time. Help us do that, please. Under emphasizing quality and continuous improvement, we are working diligently to support and grow the early childhood workforce through apprenticeships. We are leading in the state of Kentucky, y'all. It is super exciting. Through youth apprenticeships, we've got 26 employer partners serving 48 locations. We are going to be the very first in the nation with a director apprenticeship. We facilitate scholarship investments. If you don't know anything about that, please reach out to us. And then we're using data more than we ever have, and working to address those most underserved communities. And so, last thing I wanted to say is our Early Childhood Institute. We used to just do it once a year. We're doing several a year. They're very targeted. I hope some of you all were at our November Early Childhood Institute, because it was all about our regional collaboratives. We gave out more money. We continue to give out more money. So you better be there if you want more money. And you better be at our June one. And so I'm going to transition it to my colleague. She's awesome. Her name is Megan Greenwell. And Megan, it's all you. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thanks, Amy. Thank you, Melissa. So we can get the next slide there. So this is a new map that we've just created. And as Melissa and Amy both mentioned, in 2019, the Early Childhood Advisory Council voted to streamline and align what used to be called the Community Early Childhood Councils to the Workforce Investment Boards. And so we have reduced the number of single councils to regional collaboratives. And so they were grouped based on their geographic locations and to support best practices and provide new opportunities to provide greater impact. And so the counties that you'll see, if you see a county in white, it means that there's not currently a regional collaborative there. But that does not mean that that can't be changed, because our goal is to make sure that every county is represented and has a regional collaborative in place. So going back to the basics, what is a regional collaborative, or formerly known as a Community Early Childhood Council? What do they do and how can they benefit you? So regional collaboratives are tasked with uniting organizations in local communities to address those critical early years of a child's life, which is what you all do, which is what we all do. The Kentucky Regional Collaborative Network focuses around four main things, which is to align the birth through 5 programs and strategies. We're working on reducing duplication and leveraging our additional resources to ensure that all children in their community have a strong start. Collaboration is another big word. We collaborate with the Kentucky Center for Statistics on an early childhood profile to connect prevention services along the birth through 5 pathway to increase access and opportunity. And you can find that profile on our website, and it's a great resource to use. And another keyword is invest. We invest in data-driven solutions through local innovation and decision-making to grow those Kentucky bright spots that Amy's mentioned and that we'll dig deeper into in just a few minutes. But another thing we do is change. So affect the change to make measurable progress toward locally defined community-wide goals. And so these and more could be examples of how a regional collaborative can benefit you all and work together to combine efforts and resources and create an even bigger impact. So here at the Kentucky Governors of Early Childhood, we provide free webinars that are live or recorded every other month for the purpose of supporting impact and innovation in early childhood education. And we would love for all of you all to attend any and all of those. The goals of these trainings and technical assistance is to support solution-oriented discussions, highlight and grow excellence in the field, like we're going to do today with Ms. Tracy Pulley, and to build capacity and train new leaders. So as I mentioned, find your county on the map. If you aren't already in contact with your regional collaborative, if you don't know who your chair is in your regional collaborative, get in touch with me and reach out. We would love for you to be a part of your regional collaborative if you're not already. And if your county is in white, then get in touch with me too. We can put you in contact with the closest one, or we can even have a conversation about getting one started. We aren't asking you all to step up and be the chair. We know that you all have your plates are full, and we're just asking for your help and your expertise in your area. You all know your communities better than anyone, and it would be a great collaboration opportunity here, which is what this is all about. So as we mentioned, with the Kentucky Bright Spots, we can move to those. We are really encouraging our regional collaboratives to elevate and amplify what works. And we know what works, and we're referring to those as Kentucky Bright Spots. And we know they work because they're data-driven programs across the Commonwealth that have had measurable impacts on kindergarten readiness rates. And we are encouraging these to be used and scaled up in our upcoming RFA, which I know that you all refer to as CPPs. And we are also moving to a 2-year grant as well, which you all do. And we're really excited about that because it gives our regional collaboratives an opportunity to move those long-term behavior changes easier and to scale up strategies. And we know that these strategies work because they are successful programs across the state. And so some of the examples you'll see on the screen: home visitation, the HANDS program, building vocabulary, early steps, monitoring growth, learning, and development, which is a developmental screening program, developing early literacy, which is a huge Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which is coming to Kentucky, which we're really excited about, high quality public preschool, Head Start, and Childcare, transition to kindergarten, and blending funding to better serve families, which is that blending and braiding funding that Amy had mentioned. And so we know these work, but just to kind of drive that in, some data points to share with you all would be 90% of 3-year-olds and 85% of 5-year-olds that were enrolled in early steps exceeded in vocabulary standards. And 52% of children who identified as participants in the Imagination Library, 86 of those entered kindergarten prepared, more prepared compared to those who didn't. And the Head Start students on average outscored eligible students who were not enrolled. And in Northern Kentucky, where they work on those high quality transitions, 60% of children who entered school where they used best practice transition strategies entered school more prepared compared to the state average of 51.1 and the county average of 54. So we know these work. We have the data to prove it, and the data exists, and we're happy to share that data with you to get you, that's where you start, and they're measurable outcomes. And so we provided 2 examples. We'll move to that next slide. The first example is the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. So at the Early Childhood Institute that we held in November, we had an action planning session for everyone that attended, and it was based around an additional funding opportunity that we provided for our regional collaboratives. And at that action planning, we provided product sheets based around all of those bright spots. And so an example would be the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, and we broke it down into like cost factors, outcomes, measures, inputs, planning considerations, and that kind of thing. So this one is just like I said, the Dolly Parton. It gives you a little bit of overview of what to expect. And then that next one is going to be what the actual product sheet looked like. I don't expect you to read all this. I know it's small on your screen. I just wanted to show you what it looked like and how to, what you would see. And we're happy to share all of these with you because we try to make it as simple as we can for our grant writers. We wanted to.
Can I just say, Megan,
Yeah.
that a really good thing about this for you guys to know, and you can see there, it has outputs, outcome, performance measures. So as you're thinking about, if you're thinking about your CPP or you're thinking about something that you would like to try, knowing already what some of these data points are is going to be really important, right? Because we don't want to spend our time on something that we aren't sure that it's going to work or not if we don't have to. So they've done a lot of this work for us. And so that was one of the reasons why we wanted to make sure you guys were aware that this whole resource is here, because a lot of the work that you would probably do is done for you.
Yeah. Thanks, Melissa.
Melissa, sorry, it's Amy. Megan, sorry.
You're fine. Go ahead.
The other thing that I would say is that, yes, the work is now done for you, but ironically, surprisingly, the work had not been done. And it was a heck of a lot of work to do. And so I would say, let's take advantage of it. So yeah, let's take advantage of it. Now we have all of this information. So let's, as much as possible, row in the same direction. And I hope that resonates with some folks.
So just like they said, and I'll reiterate too, that as you're working on your upcoming grant and planning those, if you wanted to include one of these strategies, we're happy to dig deeper into these product sheets with you, go over cost factors. We wanted to make it as easy as simple for you and for our regional collaboratives as possible, because we know that you all do the legwork day in and day out. And so we wanted to set the field for you the best we can and the most easiest and most efficient way that we can. So it's there for you. All you all have to do is implement it. And we do the legwork for you, like we mentioned. And so an example of kind of what our RFA looks like is on that next slide. And we are going to revamp our RFA up this year. Like we said, we're doing a 2-year grant. And so it's going to be released in mid-March. And and so we're moving to a much more simple, easier way to read, fill out version, because we wanted to make it the most beneficial information to our planning and to theirs. And so we're going to take out a lot of our repetitive. There's no need for narratives. We just want it to be simple and show us what we need, such as that our goal, how to measure it, the way they can sustain it, and that kind of thing. So as Amy mentioned too, on our next slide, we are really encouraging blending and braiding of funds.
I agree with Greg. The cuteness factor just went way up. I think we're going to have to introduce Meg.
Can you say hi? So,
hi. Yes, she wants to be introduced. She may have to help present on a slide.
Yes, this is a good example of working from home and working from the office, but during COVID. So, and we are blending and braiding our resources to increase impact. And so this just kind of shows a good graphic of ways to use your resources in your community and ways to use us. So these are, I know, tied around your all's CPP language a little bit. such as you all can get in-kind donations, civic and religious organizations. I know funding can come from there, your Title I funds, but just using those resources to the best of your advantage. So, and that's where we pulled in Tracy Pulley. So what is a way that you can utilize your regional collaborative through our office? What is a way that you can leverage those resources to get the greatest impact? And Tracy is a great example of that. And so I'm going to kind of pull it over to Ms. Tracy Pulley to share with us her personal experience in the regional collaborative field. She is a co-chair for the Four Rivers Counties Regional Collaborative. She's a great asset to that team. And Tracy, just tell us a little bit about your experience and your knowledge behind all of this and how you leverage your resources.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So I'm at our high school, so I apologize in advance if the bell rings or if there's an announcement. So I was really grateful that Megan's daughter showed up on the screen, because and I always appreciate these when these trainings are as realistic as possible, because I get frustrated sometimes with ideal expectations and wishes. You know, I know that I'm talking to people who are very, very busy and just want to hear the bottom line. So I'll get to it. So I am at Fulton Independent. It's the last county at the corner of the southwestern edge of Kentucky, and I'm on the Tennessee state line. It's kind of a funny spot, very rural. So I'm a combined center, and all the centers around me are combined. And when I came back to the job in 2009, I discovered these wonderful community early childhood councils. And it turned out that because we were so tiny down here, that the four river counties, Ballard, Carlisle, Hickman, and Fulton, there you go. So we had joined together to make a regional council already. So I'm curious in the question part of this to hear from other center coordinators, if you had your own individual CECC and now it's been chunked into a collaborative, how that's affected people. But anyway, we didn't get hit that way because we were already chunked together, and we were in the first round of funding. So we've been around for 20 years, and I've been there for 12 and a half of that. And I love the CECC. So when Melissa asked if I would talk about why I love it, I said, absolutely. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, there've definitely been ups and downs. The Kentucky Governor's Office of Early Childhood changes a lot, up and down, up and down. So, but what I can say is that these councils are effective over time. It doesn't matter, the changes come and go, but the mission always remains the same, which is to improve children's kindergarten readiness. Anyone who's an old timer on here, I want to hear from you about your thoughts on we used to also support childcare centers in our community a lot. And I feel like that's an item that that really should still be there, because I think it was very useful. But in terms of the work that we do overall, it works super well. It's like an ASAP council if you serve on one of those. Basically a group of you, a bunch of you who all have the same goal, say your local extension agents and hands and First Steps and your Head Start folks and early Head Start and FRYSCs. I keep saying FRYSC. I know that a lot of people are just FRCs for this, but you just meet together and figure out how to come up with programs that match whatever the Kentucky Governor's Office of Early Childhood is focusing on for that grant period, and then you put it together and make it work. So down here, we use the money to do a Grow Festival every year. Grow, Learn, Succeed was a phrase that was big for a while, and I like it, and I think it worked for us, because when I first started, we had an ABC festival for the whole region, and if you've seen the picture of the map, you know that it takes an hour for me to drive from Fulton up to Ballard County. So one central location only worked well for the kids and the families in that town. So over time, we realized we needed to. So what we do now is we get together and we say, okay, Grow Festival. Here's how much money we have for it. And here's our goal for that. And then, so break and split off and go to your school districts and make it happen. So this year we've got $34,000, which is wonderful. When I started in 2009, we had a $35,000 budget. And then over time it went down, down, down. But luckily it's now going up, up, up. And so we each have a Grow Festival, and then we have family reading together programs, and something called Laugh and Learn, which is sort of a mommy and me thing. And we also do an annual kindergarten transition event at each school district. And the funds, like mini grants, they won't let you buy food or things. I think they call them expendables, like crayons. But it will let you purchase or rent an inflatable or a performer who does early childhood relevant stuff, things that will bring your families in. Now, I do hear Amy saying that we're going away from the one-day programs and we're going to the long-term programming. Again, we're flexible. FRYSCs, we know this. We just roll with whatever's the grant is requiring. I do feel, sorry, go ahead, Melissa.
No, I was just going to say, when you guys went to the Grow festivals that were specific to your counties, is that where you were able to implement the ASQ screeners?
Yeah, we do ages and stages for every kiddo who shows up. Yeah. And we team up with Head Start for that one. The early Head Start director does the ages and stages screener for us. And they take that data. Yeah. And in terms of data, absolutely. We try to, we stay connected with that. We use the Brigance results for each school district, what our kindergarten readiness is for our kiddos to see how well we're doing. But I've always felt like, FRYSC and the CECCs are just perfectly aligned in terms of we're trying to reach 0 to 5-year-olds. How do you do that? It's a harder population than the kiddos who are right here in our school buildings. So the CECCs are a great collaboration because they allow me to hook up with a community person like the UK Extension Agent, Family Consumer Science Agent. And she's out there in the community connecting with families that I might not otherwise have access to. So I really praise it highly in that sense that it makes my job easier. And I assume that that's what we all want to hear, that it makes it easier.
I was getting ready to ask you, what would you say to a coordinator who says, gosh, another meeting? I just don't think I can do that. I'd rather kind of go at it solo. Like, what would you say to them?
I hear them. And I struggle with that. This one, we're very practical and we get it done. Like I said, we come up with the mission, and the mission is made very clear by the grant requirements. And then we just all agree and go, it's like a football huddle, and we just have a quick meeting, maybe normally every 2 months during the school year, and then we're off in the summer. It's worth my time. PAX Now down here in our corner of Kentucky, I used to attend that meeting regularly. It was Community Collaboration for Children. That was CCC. And they can't keep caseworkers. And I finally stopped attending that meeting. And I feel bad. It's that one is intended to reduce child abuse and neglect in our region, but it wasn't producing. So I would say that that this group does a great job of being productive and making it worth my time. But now I will also admit that I'm very, very grateful that our extension agents are the ones writing the grant. I have helped with grant writing collaborative discussions, but I'm not the one actually doing the typing. So that one's not on my shoulders.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And it looks like we have, and Greg, I don't know if I'm stepping in, but we have a question in the chat. It says, can Tracy, I missed, it popped out.
Yeah.
Can Tracy repeat the ideas and programs that they are doing? Yeah.
Yeah. Now Amy and Megan can say if they just absolutely don't want collaboratives to do this anymore, but we do have an annual Grow Festival, and I think it's very successful because we encapsulate everything in that one festival. We do it every fall at our elementary schools at each school district, and at mine I always have a petting zoo outside, so that's a draw. And then I have an inflatable in the gym. But then we use the, I love this, the little pentagon, the colored pentagon that shows what we're looking for school readiness in Kentucky. And this one is general knowledge and math. And this is health and physical well-being, approaches to learning, language and communication development, and social and emotional development. So say we have the bump and jump, I will put one of these signs over here and say, oh, it's connected to health and physical well-being that kids need to be ready for kindergarten, but also social and emotional development because they have to learn to wait in line for their turn. So we use that information. And then we have preschool and kindergarten teachers at the festival who will demonstrate the learning item that the parent is going to take home from the festival. So this year we had these magnets, and the kindergarten teacher showed the parents, they were phonetic early reading magnets that we demonstrated with the kiddos, and then the parent would watch and participate, and then they got to take it in there, put it in their bag and take it home with them. So that's really, I love that event because it does give us some visibility in our community. In the end, acronyms can drive people crazy and they just want to know a face. They want to know that lady she's that lady. She's that Grow Festival lady. So I feel like that helps us there. And then the others, the family reading program, we buy scholastic books. Now that Dolly Parton's hitting us in Kentucky, I guess we'll be able to transition from buying the books to just having the event. But we have family reading nights, and that's a collaboration mostly at the elementary school. We have a ready-made audience with our preschool kiddos, but then we also invite community folks. And that's where I do feel like, our lack of support for childcare centers now with this grant is frustrating because I felt like that was a community. Anyway, we do try to reach those folks still. And for that one, you can do any number of things. For Christmas, we had Santa Claus, and I used FRYSC money to pay for the refreshments, the cookies and the cocoa. And then I used CECC money to buy the books. We had a great one. We had a scratch and sniff book this year that the kiddos really loved. And I couldn't have afforded this book on my own budget because my budget is $46,000 this year because our school district keeps losing students. So without the CECC funds, I couldn't have made this nice item. And it's a hardback book. And so we have a collaboration with the library, and the kiddos did some reading in there as well. And it was just a nice family event. Then Laugh and Learn. I'll be honest, I don't have great attendance at Laugh and Learn. It's a sort of a mommy and me concept where you're inviting a parent to bring their toddler, and then you have any number of things. I've focused on music with my group, but I have never had more than 4 parents come to that. So, anyway.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah. But that one's pretty basic. You're getting the parent to, the dream. We all dream of this, that we're walking through Walmart and we see a parent and they turn to their toddler in the grocery cart and they say, "What color is this lemon? How many lemons is mommy buying?" That's the dream. That's what we're always trying to promote with these programs. And then every spring we do a kindergarten transition event. That also is I guess the state office will tell us if we can continue that or if it needs to be broader. But I think that's wonderful because it celebrates the children who have completed the preschool program and gets them excited about kindergarten. And so those are our main programs that we have currently.
I think we have
I was just gonna say, so we have a couple of questions and comments in the chat. And so the first one for you, Tracy, is how can I get one of those cool Pentagon charts? If you could maybe put some information in the chat, or if you can share like a PDF or something, we can get that out through email.
I'll find it and send it to you, Greg. I did think about that earlier, that I needed a link, but I couldn't find it. I think I got it from the Kentucky governor's office a few years ago. So I'll track that down and send a link.
That'll be perfect. And that actually dovetails into something I was going to announce. I know some of you had trouble getting in. We can't quite figure out exactly what it was or how to help you. I know some of you were able to eventually get in. We will take a look at that. I would love to hear from you if you had trouble connecting today. That's why I put my email in the chat. Along those lines, Kara Popham is sharing some ideas of how they used some grant money to fund their Deli Part and Imagination Library. So please keep it coming. If you have other examples or ideas of how you have done some of this stuff with your center, throw those in the chat. If you have questions, throw those in as well. We do have a question, and this might be for Amy and Megan, and it's one of those cut to the chase questions. From B. Cullinger. I'm from Harlan County, and did I understand that the Cooperative Extension Office writes this grant? I'm guessing I'm just asking the easiest way for me to get connected to the closest one to me.
Sorry, Megan. I'm sure it's different across the state, but here, the Family and Consumer Science agent has written it for us each year.
And we've been chatting direct back and forth, but she's in Harlan County and they currently don't have a regional collaborative there. But the Eastern Streams Regional Collaborative is closest. And so she's going to get in touch with them. And then we're also going to touch base offline and try and get one started there in Harlan as well. But so what Tracy was referring to too is all the regional collaboratives have a chair and then they have a fiscal agent. And so that your fiscal agent obviously handles your finances and that kind of thing. And usually they'll designate one or two or a few people to write the grant for them. And so like in Tracy's case, the extension office is in charge of their grant writing. And some of the regional collaboratives, the chair or the co-chair handles it, or the fiscal agent handles it. Probably just whoever has the best expertise in that range of things. Grant writing is a thing some people love to do, and some people just prefer to use their skills elsewhere. So it's different on different ones, but
and I just want to say this to those of you that are in the White Counties that don't have one. Saying, how could we get this started here does not mean that you have to get it started. It doesn't mean that you have to chair it. It doesn't mean any of of course, if you can and you have capacity and all the things that you can, but a lot of times FRYSCs just know people in the community that and maybe timing was bad before and maybe timing is better now. Or maybe people have changed in your extension office or your, whomever. And so if you are kind of thinking, I think there's like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people that are in my community that would be a good time for us to come together and apply for this funding and sit around and look at our data in early childhood and what you're doing over here and what we're doing over here and what we're doing over here and how can we bring it together so that we can really move the needle. They stand ready. Megan and Amy stand ready to help walk communities through that process. So just want to throw that out there. Just because you say, I think this might be a good time doesn't mean they're going to say, okay, well, here's what we need from you, 50 hours a week to get it started. That's not the ask. So I just want to say that.
Melissa, thank you for that. And I apologize. I had to step away for a phone call, so I may have missed something. But the other thing that I would say is that for writing of the grant, communities do it all different ways. Some have grant writing committees. I was fortunate when I was a Family Resource Center coordinator in our community early childhood councils. We always had a fairly active United Way, and we would always partner with our United Ways, and their grant writer would always step in. Now, I know some communities don't have United Ways, but also, some community early childhood councils, now regional collaboratives, can link up with their school district and have them be a partner in helping to write the grant. So be creative. And then the last thing I would say is Megan touched on this, but listen, we are working really hard to simplify the grant. We simplified it last year, but we're not finished. We are looking for less words and more meat. We want to make it actionable. And so just know that it's going to get simpler and simpler. And what the end product is going to be, it's going to be user-friendly for you all. So don't be scared of it. So is what I would say. At least have a conversation with us. We're nice.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank Maria Thomas because she shared a PDF version, I believe, of that document. So that'll be available. It'll also be available on our Wednesday webinar archive alongside the recording of this. So if you want to go back and refer to that, that's always a good place to find extra resources. I don't think we have any other questions. So,
Well, I have questions for anybody who's out there who, is there anybody on the call right now who was on an individual CECC and then the state merged you into a regional collaborative? I was curious about that.
This is Sarah Evans in Todd County.
Hey, Sarah.
And hey, I was individual forever since the beginning, and now we're in with Christian and Trig, and it's working well.
Oh, good.
Trig is our fiscal agent and chairperson, so she's taking care of writing the grant. But it's working very well.
Good. I just thought it might kind of hurt some feelings, even if it did end up being better in the long run. I was curious. I'm glad to hear it's working.
It was kind of in the beginning, and in our minds, it was kind of like, what? But it's fine.
Well, can I ask Amy and Megan, is the shift away from also using some of this to support local childcare centers, is that a permanent shift in your eyes? That, in the old days, in the 2009, one of the things I thought was very successful for us was mini grants that we would provide to local childcare centers. So do you think that this group will continue to just now be focused only on kindergarten readiness and really no support of local childcare centers?
Hey, that's a big question, Tracy, and I don't think I want to give you a black or white answer, but I think the answer I want to give you is impact. That's the answer that we want to give. We want to move towards measurable change. So, that's where we go to the Kentucky Bright Spots document. So we are happy to have a conversation with communities anytime that they can share with us a strategy that is showing impact. So if you have a strategy where you're working with a childcare center and it's making measurable change, we are more than happy to talk about investing in that strategy. I don't know if Megan also talked about the excess tobacco settlement dollars that we received this year and how, we're working to scale a strategy over time. Megan, did you talk about that?
Yeah, a little bit when we were talking about the RFA. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Tracy, I hope that helps you, but as long as the strategy is creating impact, then absolutely, we're happy to talk about that strategy with you.
Oh, I appreciate that. I think that I guess I need some new direction from the state on who is it Childcare Aware that's supporting childcare centers now. Would you also, I'm curious about other family resource centers where if they communicate and work with their local childcare centers, and if so, what forum they do that through. Sorry, that'll be for a separate conversation. So thank you. It's a transition that I have mourned a little bit that I felt like this group supported childcare. Okay, so Ann Brooks in our chat says Childcare Aware is the supporting agency.
Absolutely. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So Childcare Aware continues to be encouraged to be part of these regional collaboratives. Is that?
Absolutely. Yes, they are. And Tracy, I would say, Melissa, this is probably a great follow-up station Childcare Aware is the training, is the, professional development training arm. I hope I have that language right. But, I think that this is a great follow-up conversation. Tracy, if this is a barrier in your eyes.
Well, just factually,
Barrier.
we had two childcare centers here in Fulton, and now we have 0. So it's just realistically we're struggling down here. So I'm just looking around to see who's supporting that now. So I'll see if we can reconnect. We had a strong relationship with Childcare Aware when UK had the contract through our purchase area development district, and then in 2016 they decided to stop that and shift it, and then we didn't see Childcare Aware folks for a long time.
Yeah.
So we'll have to just reestablish that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you
that's
got
good, and we'll make a note of that for sure. I'm sorry to cut you off, Amy. I know I thought we were going to lose people, so I just because it's like 1:30. But what I want to say is absolutely that is a good follow up. I want to say that I think that I love that Tracy's bringing up some local things, and we're just handling it and talking through it on the spot, because that's how Amy and Megan roll. So my point is do not shy away from contacting them and saying, I'm one of these white counties and I really want to get something started, but please don't make me be the chair. That's fine. Or if you're here for it, if you're like, you know what, ready to step up in some leadership roles, let's get this thing rolling, then that's cool too. Or if you have questions, like whatever you have, they are here only to support this work. And since we have a part of this work, it's time to work smarter and not harder, leverage all that they can give us. So that's what I want to leave you guys with. There's an exit slip. Please fill it out. Thank you, Tracy, for being with us today and putting yourself out there like that. It's not always easy. And thank you, everybody that participated today. And y'all have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. And remember, in 2 weeks, we are going to be back with another Wednesday webinar. It'll be on advocating with FRYSC. It's going to be Marianne Jennings, the assistant director of FRYSC, and she's going to, I think, be pulling in some other folks too. So hopefully we'll see you tuned in there.